Okay, this is part three. We talk about Alafe, belly cooling, valuation, repairs, all kinds of stuff. Okay. Um, Now we kind of mentioned how other, EV companies, we won't mention any names, but took billions of dollars to get to production. And these same EV companies are having financial problems because they're losing money, even though they are producing and selling vehicles at this time. Just because like the whole, I guess, I don't understand it myself, but I guess they're just spending more money than they're able to make, and the ramp to production doesn't get them enough revenue to stay above water. Does Aptera have a strategy that's different that maybe will avoid those problems, or can you see what I'm getting at?
No, look, the whole the whole way that Aptera builds this vehicle
Uh-huh.
different than how other people do it. We have less than 10 parts for the bake. We have so many fewer tools. We have almost an order of magnitude lower tooling cost.
Hmm.
And so everything about how we build this vehicle, how we will launch production requires far less capital by design because we made the company, we made the vehicle that way. We set out to make it that way. Now, if we had set out to build a conventional steel vehicle with all of the attendant parts and things necessary on the assembly line, then we would have had to raise billions of dollars as well to get it in production. But we purposefully chose not to go that route. We leveraged all of Chris's thinking from his boat manufacturing history and our collective experience together to say we have to find a different way. We have to find a way that needs orders of magnitude less capital.
Yeah, no paint, bonded assemblies, reduced parts, simplistic, sub-assemblies that are easy to put together. All that adds to something that's just much different than traditional automotive. And I would say that, Steve and I are big fans of the EV world and community. And, we think it's amazing that, these companies are delivering such compelling electric vehicles now, really cool looking vehicles, stylish looking vehicles, fast, capable, whatever you want to say. So it's amazing to see the EV world growing so much. I think it's terribly unfair that the market has punished so many of them when EV sales are up and people are excited about this. But the market dynamics are something that Steve nor I control. So that's just how it is. But we didn't approach this from a traditional automotive perspective. We approached this from how do we get the most reliable, capable solar mobility on the road. And we sought out amazing partners like Sandy Monroe and CPC and CTNS. And all of these guys have given us little different ways to be able to reduce our CapEx, to build this vehicle in a much different way than traditional automotive has, and to just really kind of do things much differently. We're starting a whole new vehicle segment here with a whole new vehicle production program. And we think it's better for the environment, we think it's better for the world, and we think it helps us deliver on our promise much more quickly.
Is there like a number that you need to reach before you start becoming like self-sufficient? Like, is it 10,000 vehicles a year, 20,000 vehicles a year, 100,000 vehicles a year?
You asked our wonderful VP of Finance, Blake, he would say very specifically that number is 6,000 vehicles a year.
Oh, a year.
Yeah.
Okay, that's like seems like a very doable number.
Right.
Yeah, at 6,000 vehicles a year, we're self-sustaining, we're happy, we're doing everything we need to do to.
And we can do that because we're not trying to amortize billions of dollars of tooling.
Uh-huh.
And to do that, we have to produce tens, hundreds of thousands of vehicles a year.
Uh-huh. So if you're producing like 20,000 vehicles a year, you guys are now making money.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Okay. That's really good to hear. All right. So then now that when you're talking about the bonded pieces, that reminded me of a question someone had. Like that bonding mechanism that's used at CPC, does that require some kind of like heating or curing method with light? You just apply it and it's just time.
It's like an epoxy bond, but it's not an epoxy bond. It's more sophisticated than that.
Okay.
And they've been doing this for years at CPC. Making high performance bodies for the world's most extravagant supercars.
Yep.
So the bonding adhesion work that they've been doing is amazing, and the bond is stronger than the part. So when the parts fail, it's not the that fails. It's the part that fails.
Yeah, in the rare instance where we use a bonded stud, it is a UV bonded stud.
Uh-huh.
the whole idea to have all of this design into the Bink is so that you don't have to do that. The part comes out with those bosses and threaded inserts in it. So there's no adding parts like that in production. It's already built into the part.
Okay.
Buddy that's in Paris right now looking at our beautiful Bink assembly
Mhm.
there, look at some of the inserts that are in these parts, and it's really what makes it so fanciful. These parts come out like injection molded parts
Mhm.
with the bosses and nuts and studs already in it, and we're ready to attach whatever we want to it.
So the reason that they asked that question was, let's say Aptera, your Aptera gets into a fender bender and you have some body damage. Is there some way to like take the bonding off so you can replace the panel? Like, how would that work? How does repairing the body structure work?
I don't know if you ever remember a company called Saturn.
Yeah.
They commercials years ago where they would run stuff into the side of the car, hit it with a sledgehammer, and everyone's, oh, these doors are so strong. That was really the first use of fiberglass SMC.
Mhm.
Flash forward 20 years on Saturn, let's go, but 20 years forward, and the technology is so much better nowadays. But I mean, you could hit the Aptera with a sledgehammer. You could run as many shopping carts into it as you want. You can hit it with as many basketballs and softballs as you want. It's not something that's going to damage the Aptera. But in extreme cases, you would have the ability to cut back a part, shave down the bonding surface and rebond a part if you really had to.
Okay.
And that you can do in the field, but most of the time, you think of most automotive accidents and it's, front 3/4 or rear 3/4 or full frontal, rear frontal. In those cases, if you had to replace a full quarter of a combustion vehicle, traditionally, you'd probably end up getting a whole new body structure for the Aptera.
Or they were just totaled out.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, there's been a lot of surprisingly mild accidents of people I know who've had their vehicle just totaled. So we hope not to be that bad.
Right.
Other than standard convention.
Well,
But you look at a structure that's only a few $1,000s and a few 100 pounds, and you could actually ship a whole new body structure to somebody and have them, take the old Aptera parts and put it on the new Aptera body pretty easily. So it's a different way to think about, how to take care of those accidents and repairs than traditionally.
So did I hear correctly that you said that the body structure is about a few $1,000s?
Yeah, the main body structure, and then you have the front assembly, you got the node, you got the other stuff. So
Okay.
replacing stuff on the Aptera, it's not like how you would replace stuff on a traditional automobile.
Right, because there's one of these EV companies that there's been some news stories about getting minor fender benders in the quarter panel, and it costs like $50,000 to do the repair on that. I don't know if you've seen that news story.
Yeah. I've got a Tesla Model Y, and I had a delivery truck, left its lift gate down and cut through the back of my vehicle, but they're probably going to total the vehicle because it's so much damage. If you damage too many components on a steel or aluminum body, it's really hard to recover from because labor is so expensive. But that's not how the Aptera is built. The Aptera is built with sub-assemblies, and it's just a much different way to think about repair and service. And
So if you only had 3 wheels, that thing would have never hit your rear wheel.
exactly.
Yeah.
If I only had the Aptera, probably
Yeah, and it's lower in the back.
Yeah.
So a lot of people have been asking, we have not heard much from Alafe in like a year or something. Is there any news on that front?
Yeah, I mean, Alafe was our chosen partner, for powertrain development. And we've been working with them since the beginning. We've got a production motor design with them. And we've got prototype inverters that we've designed. But we're always looking to lower the risk and lower the cost of development. And we were looking at it still a significant burden internally to develop the inverter to a production level status compared to the inverters that we had, the sort of rep one. And we wanted to make sure that we could offer something at production that was, very low risk, that was easily attainable, and didn't require further development. And so we've been working with one company and have other backups as well, so that we're able to continue development with the Alafe and ensure that anything that we do with them is ready by the time we launch it. But also with the provision that we want to be able to launch with something that is more readily available, more mature, higher installed base. It gives us time to do the other part properly.
Okay. So I just want to, there are a few questions that are just kind of rapid fire questions that people had. Is belly cooling still a thing?
Belly cooling is part of an overall package and it improves efficiency tremendously.
Mhm.
So we've proven it, in bench tests in the lab, but it still requires further development to make it in production. So what we're doing in production is we have a small heat exchanger instead of the belly cooler. And then at some point, so many months after production, when we figured out how to productionize a high volume belly pan, then that'll be kind of swapped in service. So like you've seen maybe with some other companies, we're not bound by some convention of saying we're going to have different releases every year only on the year. We're going to bring software, hardware, firmware updates to the vehicle as they happen after they're tested and vetted, of course. But we can do that because we own virtually all the software and firmware stacks. And so we expect to bring in belly cooling, as soon as it's producible and mass volume.
Okay.
Tooling is expensive.
Yeah.
So that's one deterrent.
Okay. And so you're designing the vehicle in a way that like a year down the line, someone that has a launch edition vehicle could swap it out fairly easily.
I don't know if it's going to be fairly easily. Our goal is to make everything upwards compatible as possible.
I see.
With solar panels, et cetera. And we'll do everything within our power to make that the case. But I can't necessarily sit here and represent that it would be super easy for them to upgrade that, although that would be our intention.
I see.
About maybe our openness is I think people will have a lot more information about Aptera and how it evolves versus other, new vehicles out there. We'll tell people what the parts are, how they work, how to replace them, which other companies would keep kind of close to their vest.
Okay, Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, will that be in the launch edition or not?
We've been working to integrate Apple CarPlay into our own DCU, our own computer system. I don't believe we will have gone through Apple's 9-month certification process before that gets into launch. So most likely launch vehicles will not have Apple CarPlay. They will have some form of Bluetooth streaming, but the team and from a design perspective, engineering perspective, have chosen Apple CarPlay. We understand the roadmap of what it takes to get those chipsets approved to be used by Apple, but I don't believe we will have done that by launch time.
Okay, all right. Is there thought of having like a life cycle environmental footprint analysis for the Aptera like released?
Yes, I know Sarah's been working with the company to talk about that. But until we have, the full production vehicle and our supply agreement signed, it's hard to tell like where the raw materials came from and, do all the analysis. But, we have a company on tap to actually, analyze the vehicle, kind of well to wheel.
Okay. And then my last question is, as you guys mentioned, the equity markets have been terrible for EV stocks. Like they've gone down like 90%. Any EV company that's not named Tesla has gone down 90%. And Tesla's actually falling a little bit lately too. Given that, do you think that Aptera's pre-IPO valuation should be adjusted?
Adjusted up, maybe?
Yeah, we've seen the turmoil in the markets for sure, but we're entering into a whole new market segment here, and we have $1.7 billion in orders. We've created some pretty amazing technologies, intellectual property portfolio here, and the potential for us long term, we think is just amazing. As we start to discuss IPOs more, and we start to really develop a plan that ties with production, who knows what those valuation conversations will evolve. But we think we're very fairly valued now, and we think there's lots of potential as we grow.
I mean, when you look at energy historically, from centuries ago till today, it's always been fraught with chaos, more and more so. And now you have, of course, this war in Ukraine and instability in the Middle East, and that brings chaos to everybody. But the one thing that remains constant is Aptera's ability to provide its own energy, its own range. And
Mhm.
that's something that people will increasingly be looking for, is to, how to skip over that chaos, how to not integrate that chaos into their lives by having not only a product, but a company dedicated to producing its vehicles that drive on the sun.
I
So with
see.
that, you're not only buying a vehicle company, you're buying a solar company, a battery company,
Right.
an energy company. It's like displacing, all these different industries into one. We're pretty proud of what the team has accomplished here, and we can't wait to deliver our first vehicles.
Yeah, we can't wait either.
I know.
All right. Well, thank you very much, guys. I don't want to take up too much of your evening. Yeah, I'm excited to come by and see it when you guys have the PI vehicle, hopefully by this summer. That the one that has all the production parts in it.
Yeah, that's our goal. We'd love to have that for you.
We're excited, to watch your videos, and we're amazed by the amount of feedback you're able to get for us. So keep doing what you're doing. We're super impressed by your channel and the growth, and can't wait to see what you got in store for us next.
Thank you.
We appreciate it, Steve.
Thanks, Steve.
Okay, wow, I realize I say like a lot, and I'm a pretty awkward interviewer, but hopefully that was some useful information for you guys. I really appreciate Chris and Steve sitting down with us. Thanks for watching, guys.